What's up, everybody? Have you wanted to build your own guitar but didn't think you quite had the skills? Well, I did it. I think that means just about anybody can. My luthier skills are kind of mediocre at best. I can do my own setups. I can tweak the neck, adjust the bridge. So I can do that kind of stuff. So I don't have to take it to some guy every time I need a setup done. But I have to think, I really wanted to build a guitar. So I built this. I call this the 2025 Bushy Caster. You're probably wondering, why did you call it a Bushy Caster? Well, I'll explain. My wife, for the last 2.5 years, has been fighting cancer. And sadly, on January 11th of this year, she lost that battle finally. And I mean, she fought it right to the end. She gave it everything she had. But, I mean, it finally got her. So I wanted to build a guitar as a tribute to her. And my wife's name was Laura. And when my son met her in 2005, he was like 5 years old. And, excuse me, something stuck in my throat. When we first met her, I said, "This is Laura." He says, "Oh, you're Laura Bush." Laura Bush was our first lady at the time. Crud. And the Bush title just stuck with her. I mean, we all started calling her Bush, Bushy. Her kids, my kids, our family, my parents, our friends. I am so sorry. I ate some chips with guacamole a while ago, and I felt like there was a chip stuck right in the back of my throat. I apologize. Crud. Anyway, when she was right towards the end, where there was a lot of time taking care of her at home and whatnot, and I started thinking, I'm going to build this guitar, and I'm going to build it as a tribute to her. And there are a lot of things on this that represent her, because she didn't play guitar, so it's not like I built it. This was her guitar. But she liked my guitar. She was very supportive of my endeavors guitar-wise. She was with me when I bought most of them, or told me, "Yeah, go ahead and get it. If you want it, get it." For 25 years, I pondered on buying a Gibson Les Paul, the real deal, you know. Finally, one day at Guitar Center, she's like, "Just get it." So she was always encouraging me that way to, you know, keep doing what I do. So anyway, it was a sad month for us here at the family, but I built something here that I think I can remember her by every time I pick it up. The things on it that represent her, first of all, the color. She had beautiful hazel green eyes. You can see I went with chrome hardware. She did not like yellow gold jewelry. She always wanted white gold or silver. So I went with that, because I was going to put gold hardware on it first. I thought I was going to really trick this thing out, but I thought that doesn't really represent her in any way. She didn't like yellow gold. And then I found a company on Amazon where you can order a plate. Whoops. You can order a plate and have a name put on it. So I had Laura Bushy there, her name, and then serial number 0001. So this is the first, maybe the last, I don't know. But I don't think I'm going to build 10,000 of these, so I think four digits is enough. So anyway, that's it. This is not a kit guitar. These are parts that I picked out that I wanted to put on the guitar. I'm so sorry. Where's my cup? You know, you can pick up a kit for $179, and it comes with the body, the neck, hardware, electronics, everything. But I was always afraid that hardware and probably the electronics probably going to be garbage. And I didn't want to just slap something together. I wanted to actually build it. It felt like I was building something. So I ordered the parts that I wanted. And I got the body and the neck from Guitar Fetish. It's an online company out of Florida. And they have a lot of different bodies to choose from. They have a lot of different finishes, patterns, whatever you want. They also have raw wood, which is what I got because I dyed this myself. And I'll tell you about that in a minute. They have a lot of different necks. And you can just buy whichever ones you want. Pretty satisfied with the quality. It came back, the neck was really nice. Like those frets, this is one of the smoothest necks I've ever touched. They're like, I can't even feel the frets on this thing. Very smooth, and it was very straight. The frets were level. I haven't had any problems with the frets. I checked it with the rocker. It looked like the 5th fret might have been like a hair higher. I mean, it was just a tiny, but it doesn't affect anything, so I'm not worried about it. Other than, I mean, the frets seem very level. I got I went with the tuners and the trim are both Geiger, which I got off Amazon. You can say I went with the 6-point trim with the 6 screws instead of the 2-point. I wanted the 2-point. That was my original goal. But I was worried about, because the body comes routed for a humbucker, single coil humbucker, and it's got the cavity here and the cavity here, and it's got a hole for the bridge to go through, but it's not drilled to mount it. And I was worried about drilling those 2 big holes for the 2-point and having to get those barrels in there fitting just perfectly. And plus it has to be straight up and down. And I didn't know if I could do that free-handed with a drill. And if I had a drill press, I might have tried it, but I didn't want to risk it. So I decided I could drill 6 small holes way easier than I could drill 2 perfectly bigger ones. Let's see, the pick guard, of course, I got that off Amazon. The knob, the jack plate here, picked it up off Amazon. And of course, I ordered just about everything off Amazon, except for the neck and the body. The strap and the strap locks, picked that up at Guitar Center one day while I was down there, while I was picking up my EMG 81s. As you can see, I went with just a single humbucker, 1 knob. The cool thing about this was, for this setup, since I'm using all EMG parts here, it came with the pot. It comes with a tone pot as well, but when you buy EMG and you're using all EMG, it's solderless. You just plug everything in, and it plugged together. It's very simple directions to follow. It's got diagrams here for different, however you're going to set yours up, and mine was the very first one right there. And like I said, it's very easy. There's no cavity for the battery, so the battery is sitting under here. And I had an Ibanez that was in the same situation once, way back in the day. And I would simply, like when I change the strings, just change the battery. While I got the strings off, take the pick guard off real quick, change the battery, throw it back on, boom. So I felt pretty good about that. The guitar took me about 5 days to build once I got all the parts in. 3 of those days were spent on the body of the guitar, because like I said, this was just raw wood, and I had to watch a ton of videos on how to do it. First of all total, all these parts, minus the strap locks, about $420. By the time I added the strap and the strap locks and all that, I was up to about $480 tops in parts. So to build a nice guitar at that price point, it's not too bad. My goal was not only to pay a tribute to my wife, but to also build a guitar that I would want to play. And I think I did it. It worked out pretty good. But as far as doing the body, I used, I dropped this a while ago. I used Angelus dye. It's a leather dye. I watched a lot of guitar builders online. This is what a lot of them use, so I started doing my research, and yeah, and a little goes a long way. You can see I still have, it's a 3/4 still full. So the process basically was sanding it down a little bit, actually for the front I didn't sand it at all at first, because I was going to sand it in a minute anyway. What I did was I covered it all in black, let it dry, and then I sanded it. I sanded all the black off, not all of it. There was some of this black, you see it coming through, that's why you leave it on there. So you leave some of the black on, how much ever you want to leave on. Then I applied the green, and the problem with it was too dark at first. So I hit it with some steel wool, some 4-0 steel wool, brought it back a little bit, and then I took the green and I poured it in a cup about yay much, and then I put a little neutral in it, kind of maybe 25%, 75 mixture, just a little bit of neutral. I didn't want to make it too green. I didn't want it to look like Kermit the Frog's guitar or something like that. So I put in the neutral, stirred it up, put it on. That brightened it up a little bit. And then as I sanded it with the steel wool, kind of brightened it up some more, cleaned it up. And then I hit it with, the finish is a True Oil, which again is a very common, if you watch a lot of guitar building sites online, True Oil is a very common finish to put on guitar. You don't have to spray it. It's not, you don't have to have any fancy equipment, just a rag. And it does kind of stink a little bit. So what I do, I was working in here, and I would take it, once I put it on, I'd take it outside and set it on the patio on the table out there and let it dry for a couple hours, bring it back in, steel wool, hit it some more. That kind of deal. And I went back and forth between the front and the back, because the back and the sides was done in Minwax. I think it's called Golden Oak. I think it's 245 is the number of it. And I was pretty pleased the way the back came out. It looked pretty good to me. For some reason, the sides did not take the stain as well as the back did. I don't know what that's about. I sanded both before I did it. I sanded the sides, I sanded the back with like a 400 grit sandpaper on a palm sander, and hit it with the stain, and then of course True Oil. I lost track of how many coats I put on this thing. It's somewhere between 6 and 8, I would say. So, I mean, some days I'd be sitting here working at home doing some stuff, and I would run over here, throw a coat on it, take it outside, sit it down, because it only takes a few minutes to put the coat on. You just wipe it down real good. It's a quick process. Most of the time it's spent waiting for it to dry. So I let it dry, hit it again, let it dry. And I was alternating between front and back every 2 hours. And yeah, I'm pretty satisfied with it. Oh, and the True Oil, you see, it might be a little bit of a yellow tint here. Kind of brightened that up too. The True Oil, I believe, did that. The True Oil has a little bit of a yellow tint to it. So it worked good with the green. And I'm pretty pleased with the outcome. If you're going to do this yourself, you're going to do your own finish, I highly suggest please invest in some type of sander, either palm sander or an orbital sander. I saw one at Harbor Freight the other day for $10. You know, it's worth it. Because you're going to be sanding a lot, especially if you go with the black first. Some people don't do that. You know, if you're just going to go straight with the color, if you got a good piece of wood with a lot of nice fit movement in the grain and stuff, maybe you don't need to do it. But the black would actually bring it out even more. But you know, I wanted to go with the black first, and I thought it was pretty good. And that palm sander saved me a lot of with that. I probably would have given up, because it took a little while, even with the sander. It takes a while to get it off there. So anyway, some of the problems I encountered in the build, the peg holes on this neck came pre-drilled for vintage tuners at 8mm. I got modern locking tuners. Again, they're Geiger, but they're modern tuners, and they're 10mm pegs. So I had to buy a tapered reamer. And since the pegs came in from the back, the thick part that made the hole too small, I routed it from the back, and I would just take a little wood off at a time, until I finally got it in there. And then I put it in there like so, and then I marked it with tape, so that, you know, actually took me like 2 times before I finally, I'm gonna mark this with tape. So then I could do the rest and go right to the mark. I knew where I was going. And yeah, it took me about half an hour. Wasn't a big deal. But yeah, I was pretty satisfied with that. Like I said, I got string trees. Ordered those off Amazon too. I think they came in like a day. You definitely want string trees on this. If you get this neck, you're going to definitely need string trees. Because when I first started playing it, I didn't have string trees, and the high E and B sounded weird open. They kind of made this kinky, like almost like it was fretting out, but it wasn't. And I touched it up here and hit the note, and it stopped doing that. I was like, yeah, I need string trees. So anyway, I put those on there. And I got the rolling string trees from Music Lily. Again, they were on Amazon. The next problem I encountered when I put the bridge on, it fit in the hole fine. And I measured, I bought a long metal 48-inch straight ruler from Harbor Freight. It was like $4, and measured 25.5 inches. I put the saddles in the middle of their travel distance, and then measured 25.5. Mounted the bridge on here. As you can see how the saddles, if you can see it from there, the saddles are raised up, right? They got there's a gap between the saddles and this plate down here. Well, when it comes out of the box, it's flat against that plate. So when I first put it in, I thought, I went ahead and strung it up and kept messing with it. Like I said, this neck was straight. So I started raising those saddles, and I would raise them. And I kind of just did it string by one string at a time. I got it up high enough to where I could finally get a note because it was laying flat on all the frets. I'd hit a string until I started getting a note, and I did it with all of them, and I started putting a little relief in the neck, not too much, just, I mean, it's still pretty straight, but there's a little bit of relief in there. And just kind of did that back and forth until I got it where I wanted it. And looking at it, it's set up pretty good right now. I don't know if you can see the action on this guitar, but it's pretty good. It's not bad at all. It's pretty low. I strung it up for 9s. I went and put 3 springs on it. And this I was just kind of guessing at, and it seems to be working okay. So anyway, yeah, that's it. That's the Bushy Caster. The pickups install, I thought it was going to be the easy part, but it actually took me a while to get this jack plate right because the input jack, this is actually an output. We plug into it, but it's actually where the signal goes out. So this is actually an output. But the jack is a stereo jack for the EMG. So it's much bigger than a regular output jack. So when I mounted it on there and I put the wiring on it, plugged it all up, I stuck it in there. It was way down here. I couldn't get it in the hole. I mean, I could get it in there, but I couldn't get it up far enough to tap it down. So I watched a couple of videos and I finally realized I had the wiring on the top going across the top. So I loosened it, spun it around to the bottom, and then I was able to shove it up in there far enough to mount the screw. Now, as you can see, I do not have a screw here. That's because this jack is huge compared to the jack that would normally go on here. So yeah, if you put a screw in here right now, that's where the hole is. I mean, it just barely covered this hole. So I thought about putting a screw in there, maybe just kind of gluing it in there so it'll look right, but I don't know. It works. But that was a problem I had. So if you ever hook up a stereo input on this style of plate here, the routing hole and everything is not going to fit if you don't turn those wires to the right direction. So some of the things I learned watching a lot of these videos. For instance, when people are staining the bodies, they talk about when you have binding on the body, they will come back with like a razor or X-Acto knife, and they even have a tool for it. I think that's kind of notched, and they run it around there and try and take that stuff off. But it takes some of the binding off with it as well to get the dye off of it, because it'd be impossible to tape that little bitty sliver. It'd be impossible to tape that off. And what I found is as I wiped it with the steel wool took it off. And I didn't have to scrape my binding. I just kind of kept hitting it with I would wrap that steel wool around my finger and push it on there where I was just kind of touching the edge, and I would just kind of rub it until it started coming off. And it comes off fairly quick. It's not hard to get off. So if you don't want to mess with a knife, the steel wool will take it off. So anyway, it was a fun little project. I envisioned it for a long time. And it's finally a reality. I got me a Bushy Caster. It's pretty cool. Plays pretty good, sounds pretty good. Take a listen to it here. I'm not in my normal place here. But anyway, just check it out real quick. I apologize. This is a temporary setup here. The trim does still go out of tune a little bit. I'm still working on that. I think part of my problem is this nut. That's the only thing about this neck I've not been that impressed with. The nut is kind of small. It's a small little, they say it's a composite something nut. I'm not super impressed with it, with the nut itself, but I think if I've got some gauges, these little things right here, in one of my kits that I bought, and I just didn't take the time to do it, but to run these little feeler gauges through that nut slot and kind of just make sure there's plenty of room in there. It's better. When I first got it, it went way out of tune. I've got it kind of close now where it does okay, but I want to make it more stable. And I think part of the problem is I think I can fix it with that nut right there. So yeah, the Geiger trim, you see it has a huge block. So there's not a lot of distance for this thing to travel as far as doing deep dive bombs and stuff. You're not gonna be able to do that with this setup. Now I could go in there with a router from the back and take out some of that wood to give it more room. I'm not a big crazy whammy bar guy anyway, so. See, it's out too now. Yeah, went out of tune there. See, farting around. I was hitting it on the deal here, and this tremolo kept jacking with it when I put it there. But just playing it, it stays in tune pretty good. Like I said, I'm still working on the nut a little bit to get it to where it stays more stable. I think that's where most of the issue lies. Putting the string trees on helped considerably. But yeah, I just need to take my time with it and mess with that nut a little bit more. And I think we'll be good to go on that. Other than that, yeah, I was pretty impressed with my little deal. So if you want to build a guitar, that's how I did it. If you just want to throw a kit together, there's tons of them out there. I'm thinking about building a Les Paul next. We'll see. But yeah, you learn a lot in the process of just how everything works and being able to get it together. Because like I said, when I first put strings on this thing, every string was laying flat on this neck. It touched every fret. Very unplayable. So I had to adjust everything to make it right, and installing the tremolo. I've worked on a little bit of stuff here and there that's already in place, a guitar that's already been put together and sold. But to start one from scratch, it's a little different deal. But you learn a lot in the process. So I would say if you got just any halfway knowledge of how guitars work, and you can turn a screwdriver and drill a hole and turn an Allen wrench, you'll be fine. Just get in there and do it. Didn't really have to buy any new tools. I did buy the reamer. That was the only way for me to make these peg holes work. I bought a caliper off Amazon. This is very handy, just to get some of these measurements right, to make sure I was putting the bridge in the right place and measuring. I measured the holes and stuff before I bought the bridge to make sure it would fit. And measuring, when you got to measure distances, this thing is super handy. They're like $8. So no reason not to have one. While I was out, I picked up this little tool from Music Nomads, a screwdriver. It's got a front and back. Didn't really need this, but I thought it was cool, so I bought it. Because it has all the different hex keys as well, or nut slots. You can use it as a wrench. It's got different sizes here. So like when I was doing the tuning keys, just work good. Because I have actually scratched the nut on these before with a pair of needle nose pliers and stuff, trying to tighten them and stuff. It's very stick heavy plastic, so you're not gonna scratch anything. And I was able to tighten these up real nice, super quick. So. Now, as far as you buy that body from Guitar Fetish, like I said, the mounting holes are not here for the bridge, and the mounting holes are not here for the body. The body is pre-drilled for the neck, but the necks are not. So you have to get the neck on first, make sure you got it in the right spot, and then drill some pilot holes through the back, through the holes that are provided. And then you can, and always measure how long, because you don't want, like when I was putting the tuning keys on, or the string trees, I didn't want to drill a hole clean through the, that's not that much, it's not even an inch. Could very easily go, out the other side. Excuse me. So basically what I would do is measure. Now for these little tiny screws, I really couldn't put tape on that, because I would just watch, and I kind of looked at where it was on the screw. Okay, how much of this drill bit needs to disappear before So just be careful when you're drilling on these thin places. You know, you don't want to go through it. The body, not, you know, it's a decently thick body, so, but still you don't want to go too deep. And again, just kind of measure. And for the neck, of course, I didn't want to drill into the fretboard and stuff. So again, I'd measure. I did use the tape trick on the bit to mark how long the bit was versus the screw, so I would know how far to go. And that worked out pretty good. Guitar Fetish has tons of different bodies. Mostly, I think they only sell are Telecaster and Stratocaster bodies. As you can see, this one has the binding. This is more straight up. They do have the more traditional Strat styles with the carve away in the back for your belly, where it fades off here. I had originally ordered that one, but it was out of stock, and they contacted me and said, is there something else you would like to substitute? So I went with this one. But they do have a lot of nice finishes too. If you don't want to mess with doing all this coloring yourself, they have tons of finishes to choose from, and not just solid colors. I mean, they got patterns and all kinds of cool stuff. So all in all, it was a fun experience. I definitely want to do it again. Like I said, I think I want to build a Les Paul. I've always wanted a wine red Les Paul, and there's a place online called Guitar Kit, I think. They have some nice kits for Les Pauls, nice bodies with quilted maple tops, flame maple tops. There's some pictures in there of some of the builds people did with them, and they were gorgeous, gorgeous tops. Mahogany bodies, rosewood and ebony fretboards, all that kind of good stuff. So, oh yeah, this one has this neck, I forgot to tell you, is a rock hard maple and amber, and then it has what they call Paraferro fretboard. I had to look that up because I didn't know what it was. It's actually a Brazilian rosewood. So it's a rosewood fretboard. It's just, you know, the Brazilian rosewood. So yeah. The only question I have, I might change this nut one day. We'll see how it does. If I keep having issues with it, where I can't really use the tremolo very much. I mean, if I don't touch the tremolo, the thing stays a tune just fine. But if I keep having the problems, I think I'm gonna maybe change that nut if I can't get it right. As I'm not. It just seems so small. It's a small little nut. So anyway, we'll see. But other than that, I'm happy with the way it turned out. So hope y'all like it. Hope my wife likes it. She's watching down, checking it out. Probably thinking that's just another excuse for you to get another guitar. No, I did want to build this as a tribute to my wife. This is the Bushycaster 2025 model. And the cool thing about it, when you build a guitar like this, there is not another one out there like it. So you'll have one of a kind. So you jam it out, playing a gig. Nobody sees. They don't see a head. They don't see a logo. They'll be, hey, what kind of guitar is that? Well, it's Bushycaster. Then I have to explain it. So yeah, it was fun. So if you've been thinking about building one, I would say go build it. I enjoyed the process. It was like I said, I learned a lot along the way. I'd come across problems and I had to solve them. And I was determined not to have to take this to a guy, you know, at the guitar shop or something, and say, fix this. I was determined to make it work myself. So, and it did. Works good. I'm liking it. So just if you do order the neck from Guitar Fetish, be careful. Don't just look at the neck and say, I like that one, and read it, because they do sell 21 fret necks as well. And they're usually in order. All the 21 fret necks are up here. Then you'll see a very similar pattern of necks. They're 22 frets. They got more of a Telecaster headstock. This one's kind of more of an altered Strat. And so yeah, there you go. Bushycaster 2025. I enjoyed it. So get out there and build you one. Send me a picture. Peace.